Right guys, welcome back to the channel, and today we're doing something a little bit different. Today I'm going to show you how to turn this into this. So I've decided to challenge myself to paint and build an entire Kruleboyz army in a weekend. So I got these models from the Dominion box set and I've yet to build them, so let's dive straight in. First up was deciding what colours I wanted to use. So we had a look through the book that came with the box set, and I had a look through my colour collection, and we settled for a very swampy dark green and brown feel. So lots of colours that we chose from were Plaguebearer Flesh, Snakebite Leather and Wildwood, and then for the metals we went for Leadbelcher and Warplock Bronze, and I really want to try and make these look dirty and rugged. I set straight to work building the models, ready to get them primed and start painting. Right guys, so here we go. We are just over an hour and a half into the build. The models are built. I'm going to take them outside to get them primed. I'm going to just use a plain black primer. I want to give them a zenithal highlight using a grey primer. Then we'll come back and we'll get started on the painting. I primed the models black first, and then standing them on their bases used a top-down zenithal spray using a grey primer. Right, so here we go guys, this is the models after a zenithal highlights prime. So I primed them in black originally. You'll notice that underneath they're much darker, and on top they are much lighter and greyer. In particular on this guy, you can see underneath it's much more black and it's much lighter on the top. The first task was to get the skins coloured, so I used Plaguebearer Flesh on all of the skin for the orcs. And with the hobgrots, I wanted a slightly muted tone, very brown, so I went for Dark Oath Flesh. So we're 2.5 hours in and we've got quite a bit done. We've got all the models built, primed, and of course I've done the Plaguebearer Flesh on all of the skin of the orcs. And we've done the Dark Oath Flesh on all of the skin of the hobgoblins, or hobgrots. Right, so next is we're going to start highlighting both of these skins. And to highlight the skins, we are going to use the new paint Orc Flesh for the orcs, and we're going to use Rakarth Flesh for the hobgrots. And we're just going to give them a really nice dry brush. The next step after we've dry brushed all of the orcs is going to be starting to paint all of the pelts and the straps, and we're going to do most of this with Snakebite Leather contrast. It's time for Blood Angels Red on all of the shields, and we're also going to be painting the skin on this lovely beast, and we're going to use Dwarven Flesh on that. We've also done all of the spear handles and wood in Wildwood, as well as painted over all of the ropes on these guys. You can see here on the bow throw, we've done all the wood and parts of the quiver with Wildwood as well. With the boss, we actually used Fire Slayer Flesh on this, And again, you can see the red and everything that we've done there. So it's the next day. I didn't get quite as much done yesterday as I wanted, but we're moving on. We've gotten quite a lot of the base colours down, and actually I can really start to see them come together. We've got the reds, the browns, the greens, all done. The greens and reds are highlighted. The browns will be highlighted at some point today, but the biggest chunk that we now have to get down is going to be the silvers and the bronzes. So I'm going to be using lead belcher and brass scorpion to get these down first. So with the silver and the bronze complete on all the models, we've got a couple more base coats to go, but what I'm going to do to make things much easier for the shields is I'm actually going to use Volupus Pink to paint all of the inside of the mouths. It goes on really nicely because it actually sinks very easily between the teeth. And if you do get a little on the lips of the teeth, you can just wipe it off, because then we're going to go back and paint over the teeth with Rakarth Flesh very soon. So next up is the last three base colours. We're going to use Zandri Dust, Rakarth Flesh and Bugman's Glow, and we're going to use all three of these. The Zandri Dust we're going to use to paint any wraps like this here on the back of his legs, and each of the stitch lines on the robes we're going to paint with the Zandri Dust as well. For the Rakarth Flesh, we're going to paint actual skulls. So this here is a skull. The shaman has a big skull on his back. And then for Bugman's Glow, we're going to paint any flesh and heads. So for example, these three heads will be all in flesh. At 7.5 hours in, I was really starting to slow down, but I could feel everything starting to come together. All of the base colours were down, and now it was time for the shading. Using Agrax Earthshade, we covered all of the metals, the Zandri Dust, and the flesh and bone colours. Come here then. Come here. Come here. Come. Come up. Come on, Roxy. Good girl. Good girl. Oh, you can smell the cake, is that it, eh? Can you smell the cake? Huh? Where you going? After all that tedious blocking in and finally seeing it come together with the wash, I decided to take a break before coming back to highlight and dry brush several of the colours. So we used Stormhost Silver for the silvers, we used Sycorax Bronze for the bronze, we used Gothor Brown for all of the woods, and we used Rakarth Flesh and Zandri Dust to just re-highlight those two colours. At 9 hours in, I was really starting to feel it, and it was starting to get late. I decided to go for all of the fixtures on the bases, in particular the boss. He has a Stormcast on the base, and the Gnarltooth as well has a lot of detailing on there. So using various colours, I decided to tie the plants into the colours of the swamp, so using Zandri Dust and browns once again. There were several other smaller details that needed painting, including the hair on the boss, as well as the pot from the shaman and the grot as well. The finishing touch to the details though was painting all the eyes on the shields using Avalon Sunset, and then using Nylac Oxide technical paint to just edge all of the bronze and the silvers across all of the models to give the metals that very worn and oxidized feel from being in the swamp. So it's Sunday night and I've been working on these models for nearly 11 hours. I won't lie, I'm really starting to enjoy the way that they're coming out, but for me, I love basing, and bases really finish the model. Now, I haven't gotten them finished in a whole weekend because I didn't start on Friday night like I anticipated. So when I get in from work tomorrow, I'm going to crack straight on with the bases, still get them done, and it's still 1 evening and 2 days work, which I would still consider the weekend. So hopefully you guys will let me off with that. But now I'm going to go to bed, go to work, and come back and crack straight on with these bases. So starting the bases, I really wanted something in the style of these that you can get from GW. These are technical paints, and you can spread these on the bases of your models to create texture. These are nearly £5 a tub, and I believe it's a 22mm tub. I'm going to go with this. This is from Vallejo. I picked this up on Amazon for about £9.50. This is 200mm. That's 10 times as much for only double the price, and it's pretty much exactly the same. So I'm going to cover all the bases in this using some coffee stirrers. So I covered the model's bases using the Vallejo Dark Earth texture. I left a small gap where the hole in the base was for the prong on the feet of each of the models, and I pressed the models into the texture just enough so it looks as though their feet are actually quelching in the mud itself. So whilst the texture paint was still wet, I decided to go into the garden and pick up these roots from an old bush that I dug up. They've already dried out actually, and I'm going to chop these up and put them on the bases to make it really feel like it's part of a swamp. So after painting all of the base rims in dryad bark, I then went and chopped a few of these bristles from a stiff brush, a sweeping broom, or whatever you would like to call it. You can pick the heads up for them pretty cheap, but I'm going to cut these to various lengths using my snippers, and we're going to add these to the bases with a splodge of super glue to make them look like reeds that would be sticking out of some toxic water perhaps. Now that the reeds are on, I'm going to be applying some static grass tufts and some actual static grass. This static grass is like a brown shade, and I picked this up from Serious Play, as you can see. I'm just going to put a splodge of super glue or PVA glue and then sprinkle this on, and then the few areas that I feel need a little extra tuft, I'm going to add these to as well. To finish off the bases, I really wanted that muddy water feel, so I've got some Vallejo water texture here, as well as some Scale 75 Inktense inks, and I'm going to be adding a little bit of chestnut and emerald green to this to make it feel really dark, muddy water feel. And as you can see, guys, these look absolutely tremendous. For 13 hours work, I am super happy with how these guys have turned out. They really inspired me, in particular the bases, and I've really enjoyed not only painting them, but also this mini challenge to get an army painted up. There is 1,000 points of Kruleboyz here, and I'm super excited about what models are coming out in the future so that I can add to this army. I've really enjoyed this project, and I'm super stoked with the way that they've came out. I feel that they are a very good quality paint for myself, and the bases really help tie that all together after the water texture had dried. So I hope you have thoroughly enjoyed watching this video. I've used a whole host of techniques and materials from a wide range of companies, and I really feel that it's pulled all of this together. I just want to give a massive shout out to all of our gold level Patreons: Sons of Rollo, Ryan Kelly, Earl Martin, Grant Fraser, Terry Millard, John O'Neill and Mark Burton. Without you guys and the other Patreons, I simply wouldn't be able to continue doing what I'm doing on the channel. And I hope you've enjoyed this change of pace to the content on the channel. If you like this, guys, please support us, and there will be a lot more of this kind of content coming. If you did like this video though, please remember to hit subscribe and make sure you press the bell button down below. But until next time, bye bye.